Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be here and talking to you about I-33 and the new technology that we have is the EPIC 7C and the EPIC CVX, and trying to compare these technologies, trying to compare these machines, and give a sense to the user, this end user, what they would like to actually have. Now, change is the essence of life. Everything has to change. Now, the IE33 was the top of the line Philips ultrasound system, introduced in 2004 and had several versions and models, and was last manufactured in 2016. Now, since 2018, 17 to be precise, there was an introduction of EPIC 7C, which was a totally new platform. And just 1 year later, you had the EPIC CVX, and the interventional version of the EPIC CVX, that the EPIC CVXi. So both these machines, EPIC CVX and EPIC CVXi, were introduced in 2018. Then after that, there have been several changes in the versions from 2.0 to 3.0, and the current version is actually 5.0, and there may be a few versions coming in the next couple of years. Now, this is what I was talking about change. We had the vintage cars, which were top of the line in their time, but now we have got newer cars. Similarly, we had older planes, and now we have different sort of planes. So the change has to occur. Now, if you look at the history of ultrasound, so the ultrasound used for the medical purposes initially was this A mode echo. You can see that machine on the left. And it was invented by these two gentlemen here. That is Inge Adler on the right, and on the left was the physicist Helmut Hertz. So these two people got together. This Inge Adler was the cardiologist, and they produced the first A mode echo. And you can see the graphical image of that. Image coming from the posterior wall of the left ventricle. Similarly, this got converted over the next 5-6 years into M mode echo, which was much more useful, and a lot of studies were done, both experimental in the lab as well as animal studies and human studies, to validate the M mode echo, and many books came out on the M mode echo. Now, this is the machine which you are seeing on the left is the M mode echo. And then we had the beginnings of 2D echo in the late 1960s to the early 70s. And this was the mechanical handheld probe. That was the 2D which you are seeing on the right side. Now, the first color Doppler, that was again a very transformational change. It occurred in 1983 by this Japanese cardiac surgeon, Ryozo Omoto. So you can see the Aloka 880 machine here. It's a big machine. It had very good resolution and a good color Doppler, and a lot of atlases, including written by Ryozo Omoto and Dr. Nanda. These atlases were available just based on this particular machine. So basically, this was the earliest color Doppler that was available, and it came to the world in 1983. Then one of the first color Dopplers by the Philips company after the Sonos 500 was actually this Sonos 2500, which was introduced somewhere in 94, 95, and was an excellent color Doppler machine in its time. Top of the line, it had transistor 2D color Doppler, excellent pulse wave, and excellent 2D evaluation of the various cardiac chambers. On the right is the Sonos 7500, which was the first 3D echo machine introduced in the world by the Philips company. Sonos 7500, and excellent 3D pictures actually came out with this machine. There were several limitations on this machine earlier, and as it has evolved into other machines have come up, the next generation, these limitations have been resolved. But Sonos 7500 in its time was the top of the line 3D echo machine, and the only 3D echo machine available in the world at that particular time. Then came the Philips i33 in 2004, and it underwent several changes in the versions, the last being 2016. The last version was 2016. And then in 2017, we had the Epic series, Epic coming in 2017, then Epic's CVX in 2018, along with the interventional version, CVXI. The radiology version of this is actually what is called Elite, the Epic Elite. Now, if you look at the life cycle of any top of the end machine, no machine lasts forever. So there is going to be a life cycle to it, that this machine will be used for at least 7 to 10 years, but actually would be still functional in its newer versions for about 15 years or so at least. So generally the life cycle of a machine in an individual lab is about 7 to 10 years, depending on the upkeep and the maintenance. There is major technological and innovative changes occurring during this time, which are ongoing and continuously occurring. And some of these changes are still upgraded into the versions, into the machine as versions. But then some of these changes, as they become transformational and they require extensive software and hardware alterations, then they mandate a new platform. So therefore, when these occurs, this gives rise to a new platform and a new machine. And at that time, there are several end users who have recently bought the i33 machine, say, and after 4 or 5 years, you have the introduction of the Epic machine. So the end users, they need to balance out the advantages of the new technology versus the financial viability and the existing lifespan of the older machine. I told you that the existing lifespan is about 7 to 10 years. So if the machine is purchased the last machine was purchased in 2016, is likely to last till 2025 to 2026. But during this time, the Epic machine has been introduced and several versions have come up. And even there has been an Epic CVX, which again has been a revolution. So again, the customers have a sort of a Hobson choice, whether they have just bought the machine 4 or 5 years back, doing very well. These are very comfortable with this machine. They don't have any major complaints, but then there is a new technology come up. So whether to embrace this new technology immediately or to wait for this new technology to further evolve, and during this time, let the machine run its total lifespan, the i33 to allow to run its total lifespan, or you would like to get to a newer technology earlier, that's a choice. In that case, there will be some financial implications, and to some of these could be mitigated by the buyback options if the machines are relatively new and they have an early buyback. Then there could be some financial advantage, and you could go on to the newer technology. We also have the facility of the refurbished machines. So the newer machines that are introduced, after some years, they also have some refurbished versions, which are cheaper, and they are exactly like the original machine, but they are about 20% reduction in the cost. And that could also help, so that you can get access to the new technology, even though you have just purchased the machine 4 or 5 years ago. So that option is always there. So it depends on the end user. Now the i33 has been an excellent workhorse. It has shown a high quality imaging across all applications: 2D echo, 3D echo, transthoracic, transesophageal, adult and pediatric, as well as neonatal echoes. And there have been specially designed probes for adult, pediatric, and neonatal. In the transthoracic version and the transesophageal version, we had the pediatric and the adult. It is a top-class color Doppler machine with a high color sensitivity. The pulse wave and the continuous wave Doppler waveforms are crisp and sharp. There's a high quality tissue Doppler and a high quality strain technology. It has excellent 3D with both in the live 3D board, the full volume acquisitions, and easy to use cropping tools. However, several technological advances in the last 10 years have necessitated a shift to a higher levels of excellence. So there is always a demand on the cardiology service providers. There is increasing stress because there is increasing workload. And this increasing workload is in part due to increasing awareness about the cardiac illness, as well as actually increasing cardiac morbidity, which all require a faster workflow. There's greater information and accuracy, which has to be delivered at a high speed. Now, therefore, there has been the use of the anatomical intelligence to provide automation in the latest technologies that have come up, so as to provide a robust and a reproducible data. There also be a tendency for the end users to use the latest technologies, like the 3D strain and the 4D strain, which actually, even though they had the earlier versions like the i33 or previously the Sonos 7500, they had the machine, but they are using it mainly for 2D echo, because they either did not have the skill or the knowledge about 3D echo, or they found that it was taking up too much of time and requiring a lot of change in the probes. So with a change in the technologies towards the one that have occurred, that you have the one probe technology, and which can perform both 2D color Doppler, pulse wave, continuous wave, as well as 3D echoes. And with the availability of several advances in the softwares, so some of these problems have been taken care of, and therefore the end users have now become more aware of the advantages of using the latest technologies. There has also been an explosive growth in cardiac interventions. And these cardiac interventions actually require an echo guidance in real time, 3D echo, especially 3D, using especially the transcutaneous aortic valve replacement called TAVR or TAVI. Then you have this transcutaneous, this mitral valve repair using the Mitra clip device. And you have the device closures of the ASDs and VSDs, as well as the device closures of the atrial appendages, as well as closures of the paravalvular leaks. So all these are greatly helped by the use of 3D during the JEE's procedures, and that requires a newer technology. So therefore, this is goes again one of the advantages that is going to be there if you shift to a newer technology relatively early. So if you look at the EPIC CVX, that is the latest version, it has got a very good screen, which is about 21.5 inches or about 54.6 centimeters. And this is based on the OLED technology. Now, the previous screens using the i33 and even in EPIC CVX, they were using the liquid crystal glass. But this is actually the OLED. OLED means the organic light emitting diode. The screen is thinner and has a better resolution, because the resolution not only depends on your imaging probes or the expertise in the use, but also depends on the monitor. So if you have an excellent monitor like the OLED monitor, the resolution automatically improves. And with the max view that is available, both in EPIC 7C and in EPIC CVX, you can get a very large image occupying the entire screen without any change in the resolution. Normally, when you go to a larger screen, you tend to lose the resolution, but here the resolution is maintained or even improved. Then you have the technology that has come up, is what is called the pure wave technology in the transducers, which I'll explain. That you have the crystals which are more uniformly arranged. You have the newer set of crystals which are more uniformly arranged and give a much more powerful piezoelectric effect and causing generation of a powerful high resolution beam. And we have a second generation matrix probes, the X51 and X82T. That is, the X82T is a transesophageal probe, and X51 is the transthoracic adult probe that can also be used in the pediatric population. And that is a probe for a single use across all platforms, including the 2D, the color Doppler, pulse wave, the continuous wave, as well as the 3D, whether it's the light 3D or the full volume. Then we have the automations. The automations, because now everything requires to be done very fast. There's a lot of waiting time. And one of the reasons why the 3D technology was not being used earlier was that it was time consuming. So now at the click of a button and within 1 or 2 steps, you can get what is called the dynamic heart model image, which automatically gives you the 3D volume of the left ventricle in diastole and systole, the stroke volume, the cardiac mass, as well as the LA volumes also are automatic. Along with the LV, you get also the LA volumes. You will also get the volume time graphs. And now the RV chamber is always a difficult chamber to assess, and to have a quantification, a robust quantification, automated, that were not available so far and now is available in this particular machine, that is the EPIC CVX. So this is the auto RV. And then for the rendering, once you have a 3D image, you require to give it a tissue texture which matches the actual tissue texture. And you also have what is called the photo illumination. You also have the photo illumination. The photo illumination allows for the particular lighting on that particular rendering, and that gives an excellent depth perception. And that, once you touch it, it's called the touch view, and you can rotate that image using the touch view, and you can, appreciation is much better. It adds a completely new dimension to the existing 3D rendering that you have. You have an existing 3D rendering, but this is one step ahead of that completely. Then you have the strain. Now the strain always, some of the other competitors, they always had a better quality strain. But over the years, even in the latest versions of the i33, the strain has improved a lot and has become par with the other technologies. But what is so special about the EPIC CBS has been what is called the auto strain. The auto strain is an automatic strain giving the strain of the left ventricle, the 2D strain of the left ventricle, in just a click of a button. So you have a global longitudinal strain in a click of a button, which is called the LV auto strain. And similarly, you have auto strains of the right ventricle and auto strains of the left atrium. And all this is possible, these excellent imaging that is possible, is by the use of a change in the technology, which was also introduced by the Philips company, which is called the EnSite imaging technology for ultrasound imaging. And inside these transducers, actually, you have the powerful beamformers which use this EnSite technology and which actually give a powerful steering to the transmitted ultrasound wave as well as the reflected wave. And with this technology, the ultrasound beam is made more powerful by several parallel processes. This results in a high resolution images with high frame rates. Now, normally, when you get high resolution images, you reduce the frame rates, or when you want high frame rates, you have to do with a lower resolution. But this combines a high resolution image with a high frame rate. And similarly, another transformational change with this technology is a uniform penetration across the entire depth of the imaging. Normally, you get the focal point as the best imaging at that point, and that focal point can be adjusted. But in this particular technology, you have a uniform penetration across the entire depth. And this penetrating power is also across all frequencies. Normally, if you use a high frequency probe, the penetrating depth is rather low. And if you use a low frequency probe, you lose the resolution to some extent, but you have a higher penetration. But with this technology, you have a penetration which is across the entire range of these frequencies, and the entire depth of this penetration is actually there. So this is what I have told you so far, that you have with these technologies, conventionally, the users had to choose between the frame rate and the image quality. But now with the EnSite imaging, you can get a higher quality image with a higher frame rate. Conventionally, the resolution was limited to the focal point, but now with this EnSite technology, you can get the imaging across all the depth, a uniform imaging. Similarly, the penetration is there across the entire range of the frequencies. So this is what is being shown over here, that you have an excellent image with a high frame rate. You know, this is a 3D image of mitral regurgitation, a transesophageal view, and you are seeing this excellent imaging. With this excellent image, the resolution is there and the frame rate is there. The frame rate in this case is about 40 frames per second, which is considered a very high frame for a 3D technology, especially with color. So similarly, you're getting a very nice mitral valve on the transesophageal, excellent imaging. and you're getting imaging at a high depth on the apical four-chamber view without the apical clutter. Now, the apical clutter is one of the hindrances to the imaging. It gives an appearance of a clot, especially if the apex is dilated. At the apical area, because of the higher energy at the apical area, you get what is called the apical clutter, which gives rise to echoes at the apex, which mimic a clot. And especially when there is an apical wall motion abnormality, including an apical aneurysm, you can mistake that as a clot. But with this technology, that is minimized. It's not totally eliminated, but that is minimized. Now, there also, of course, along with this, there's changes in the ergonomics, which means the maneuverability of the machine. The machine can be easily transported to the ICUs, and depending upon whether you're right-handed, left-handed, and where the other machine, like the dialysis machines, are placed. So you need to place the machines along the space that is available, and you need to maneuver the machine so that the monitors can be rotated, the machine can be rotated. So this machine can be rotated to 370 degrees, which is a very high degree of rotation, as compared to the I-33, which is rotated to about 30 degrees. This is also the lightest machine available at this high end, which weighs only 104 kg, roughly about 48 kg to 50 kg less than the I-33. And it's also got a battery backup as it moves, so that you don't need to switch off the machine when you're moving in the ICU from one patient to the other. You can directly connect it. But even if the machine is switched off, the booting time is very little as compared to the I-33. The booting time of this machine is about 20 to 30 seconds versus about 1 minute to a minute and a half with the I-33. So you have the fastest access to the structures that you'd like to use. Like in this case, when you're doing a 3D imaging, you can get what is called the quick view, that is on my right. You've got the quick view of the mitral valve, and you then get the 3D of that mitral valve within 2 steps. Similarly, you can get a face cropping done, especially when you're using a 1-beat technologies, like you're using the 3D zoom, or you are also using the eye cropping. You can do what is called the face cropping of the structures which are nearest to that image. You also have got what is called the auto view, which is on my right, extreme right, which displays the various knobs for the auto view. So on the click of the button, you can get the auto view of the mitral valve, the short axis of the aorta, the long axis of the aorta, and you can get the 3D zoom. The power consumption is 25% less. And you have got the controls which are customized to the user on the touchscreen pattern. You know, you have a touchscreen pattern over there, which is quite a big panel, and which can have the various types of the touch buttons available. And you can arrange those buttons according to your own liking. You can customize it according to the workflow, so that you do not spend too much time in looking for these touch buttons, and you move on smoothly. Then the monitor I told you is a much larger monitor. You can see the larger monitor on the right hand side with a very good resolution of the image. So that particular image that is there of the 3D image of the mitral valve open is seen very nicely on the larger screen. And that I told you is an OLED monitor. It's also a larger screen. The screen is about 1.5 inches more than the I-33 and has the OLED technology. So the liquid crystal displays with the Philips I-33, and this monitor is a thicker monitor, while the EPIC CVS has an OLED display, and the monitor is quite thin. So most of these things I've already told you. So I'll move on to the next slide. And the probes. You have a whole array of probes that are available. Of course, you're not going to buy all these probes. You only want to buy the probes that are useful to you. But the options are there to have the probes. And one of the, I'm impressed with the options, besides your second generation X matrix, which is the X53 probe, you also have an S92 pediatric probe, which is a pure wave technology. That is the pure wave based crystal technology, which provides a high imaging. And I'll show you some of the images from the S92 probe. And this gives you a very high quality image for the pediatric, and especially for looking at the coronary arteries. Now you also have a micro TE probe, which is called the neonatal transthoracic probe, and you also have the neonatal transesophageal probe. So you have these probes that are available, which are of excellent technologies. And you also have the probe that I'm impressed with especially is again the linear probe, which is a matrix probe, which is the linear 14:3 probe, which gives you a very high technology imaging, which I'll be just telling you. And I told you that you have the pediatric T, which is excellent, which was there excellent even in I-33, but is even better. But you have the neonatal technology. And you have the linear transducer also, which is pure wave on a 2D platform also. Now, if you look at these images of the transducer, the connector size has reduced a lot in the EPIX CVX. Now, again on the EPIX CVX, you have a dynamic heart model, and you can get the LA volumes, the LV ejection fraction, LV volumes and mass. All these are available just on 2 steps. The cardiac motion quantification, which is the strain technology, is semi-automized on the I-33, but you have the fully automatic, the auto LV strain, the auto RV strain, the auto LA strain. You have the 2D quantification on the I-33, which is actually manual, but you have the automated volumes even on 2D. So you can do a biplane Simpsons just using 2 clicks of button. Give the machine apical 4-chamber and 2-chamber, and the machine will give you the biplane EF. The mitral valve quantification has improved a lot. It has become fully automated. It's called the mitral valve, the navigation, and the mitral valve view that is available, and gives the complete anatomy of the mitral valve as well as a reconstruction of the mitral annulus. Now, this was the pure wave technology I've shown. On my right is the regular imaging that you have. These crystals are arranged in a regular array. These are called the pure wave crystals, as opposed to the standard crystals on the left, which have an irregular array. And the right one gives a much more powerful and a high resolution beam as compared to the older technology. So most of the newer machines that we have, not only from this company, but from the other companies also, they have got what is called the pure wave crystal technology. So this is the S92 probe that I told you, which is a high resolution pediatric S92 probe. And you can see over here the nice imaging of the coronary. The coronary imaging is excellent, and several other 2D imaging also excellent. Short axis, long axis. This is a patient who has got a supravalvular membrane of the pulmonic artery. There's a supravalvular imaging coordinates of pulmonic stenosis, but in between you can see a very good flow in the LAD, normal flow in the LAD. Then you are on the right hand side an ASD, excellent imaging of the ASD that is seen on the right hand side. And similarly, you can get a good quality imaging over here. You have the imaging of the RA and the RV, very nicely seen. And you can see over here also this LA image on top. So this is again a patient who has got an atrial septal defect. And you're getting a nice parasternal long axis view, and including on the right, you've got a subaortic membrane. And the coronary is also very nicely seen. This coronary imaging is very good on this. So you get a special mode that we call this coronary sub mode that is available. And these are some of the images from the older technologies. You can see the images well, but they do not appear to be of the same quality though. You can see the left main coronary artery, you can see the proximal LAD, but not of the same. You can see the circumflex on the left hand side, and you can see the origin of the right coronary artery and the origin of the left main coronary artery on the left side. But these are from the older technologies, which are also good, but these better from the S92 pure wave technology. Then this is the probe I was talking about, is the L30. This is the original probe from the I33. So this is the 2D vascular imaging, very good with the vascular imaging with the L123 probe, as we call it. This is the standard probe I33. You all must have used it. Excellent technology. But over that, now we have got an improved technology when you have the X-matrix probe. This is the XL143. This particular probe is a very good probe and gives you a 3D image, a 3D cast, live 3D cast of the carotid bifurcation, and can image the plaques in 3 dimensions very well. So it has a lot of future, but obviously all the probes are going to cost money. So whether you need it, you don't need it, whether you are interested in it is all, but this technology is there. This technology is there on the EPIC CVX, but not there on the I33. The linear probe on the 3D probe. The transesophageal probe is excellent technology. Again here, this is X82 probe, Ensight Technologies, and you can get superior imaging. You can see this image of the mitral regurgitation, and you can also see during the intervention study with the fusion imaging that you can see the imaging of the atrial septum. You can get excellent 2D imaging. You can see with high frame rates. You can see that this color. The frame rate is about 20 to 20 hertz, which is considered very good. And on the 2D, the frame rate is about 120. And on the 3D also, you're getting excellent color, and you're getting an excellent 3D image, both with the high frame rates. So similarly, you can see that in the live mode, you can get the flow from the LA to LV, which is blue, and you're getting mild mitral regurgitation in this particular patient. And this particular patient also, you're imaging, actually, you are also imaging the mitra clip on the last 2 slides, because the slides of the mitra clip. You can see very nicely the mitra clip across the mitral orifice. Now this is the technology which was there in I33. This nicely you can see the prolapse and actually a flail P2 segment of the mitral valve. Excellent imaging. But then with the Ensight technology of the S822 probe, T probe, you are getting an excellent technology. Now this is the 3D rendering. Now if you see the machine, if you see the image on the left hand side top, is a regular 3D image with the regular rendering. But now this is the rendering with a tissue rendering, as you can call it. We call it the true view. It gives a feel of the original tissue. And over that, you have the photo illumination. There is a there is what is called the virtual illumination. And with that, you get an excellent depth perception. And with the touch view, you can rotate this and you can light the area that you like and get the depth perception of that particular area. And you can rotate the 3D image with your hand, with your finger, you can rotate the 3D image. So this is the true view of the atrial appendage on the left hand side. You can see the 2D images first, then you see the 3D image with the true view. Now you see that opening ostium of the atrial appendage very nicely here. This is the ostium of the atrial appendage, and you are seeing this rendering, very nice rendering. And on the right side, you are seeing the dual 3D of the mitral valve, 3D. So from the LV side and the LA side, this is the LA side and this is the LV side, and excellent rendering that you can see with this. So you can see there's a difference in the technology. If you compare this mitral valve with the earlier mitral valve that I showed you here, I'm going back to this mitral valve. You can see this mitral valve, flare leaflet, is a very good technology. You can see this very nicely, very good technology. But when you see this particular mitral valve, you see it's a totally different view. So you have, of course, a fetal probe which is available, which I'm not going to. This is X61 stick technology. But what I'm going to concentrate on is the LV. Now this is the LV. You're having the cast, which is there on your 3D IE33. This is the global and this is the regional cast, and you are all aware of it if you have used it. And you got excellent, basically the LV end diastolic volume, end systolic volume, stroke volumes. You could also look at dysynchrony. And you could also take the wall motion to the next level, actually by shading the various segments and getting the volume time graphs. All this was available on 11.3. But all this took time. It was a very time consuming technology. So therefore, many people, even though they had this technology, they prefer to give a 2D ejection fraction rather than a 3D ejection fraction. But now with the Philips machines, this latest machine, Epic CVX, we have got a dynamic heart model. This is the cast of the dynamic heart model of the LV and LA. And here you got the various parameters that you're getting: end diastolic volume, end systolic volume, ejection fraction, stroke volume index, the cardiac index, and then you're getting the LA volumes and LA volume index. All this can get with just click of 2 buttons. So it makes the whole process faster, and that is the main problem with the older technologies, that they took time. Now here, this is a rapid, so this user is encouraged to use this technology. You get accurate 3D ejection fraction. These can be edited in case your echo window is not very good. Then your these values will be erroneous. So therefore, it's always better to edit if you find that this is not likely to be correct. And with practice, you can actually edit very well and very fast. So even if your initial image that you get is suboptimal, you can always edit and get a high quality image and an accurate image. So this is these images of the 2D of these 3D model, and you're getting the volume time graph of the LA and the LV. And these images on 2D, they could be edited, and they can be edited very easily. Now about the right ventricle. Now the right ventricle is always a difficult chamber to assess, and we always are looking for a 3D tool, this 3D volumes for the right ventricle. So with the IE33, what we tried was to use the same software that was there for the LV. So you got the same sort of an endocardial cast, but this time of the RV, using the points on the RV itself, using the tricuspid annulus and the apex. the placement of the points over there. You got this particular endocardial cast, and you got the end diastolic volume, end systolic volume. In this case, the ejection fraction was slightly reduced. RV ejection fraction was 44%. But then we did not see the RV outflow. So this is not likely to be accurate, because RV, this geometry is rather complex, and you have an RV outflow tract which occupies a large volume, and that is not included in this. So you underestimate the volumes, and you also underestimate the ejection fraction. You also tend to give an erroneous RV ejection fraction. But now with the EPIC machine, with a click of 2 buttons, after taking the focused RV view, you can get the 3D cast of the right ventricle, and you can get the set of 2D images, and you can get finally the 3D ejection fraction and the 3D volumes of the right ventricle automatically. And if you click another button, you can actually get the 2D also of these. You can get the TAPSE values automatically. You can also get the values of these S wave. Also, you can get the values of the fractional area change. All the 2D parameters, as well as the auto RV strain. All this can be got with just click of 2 buttons, along with the RV quantification, auto RV, giving the RV volumes. So these are the way that is done. This is the RV volumes that we are getting, and we get the cast of the RV, and we get the volume time graph of the RV, and this is the RV inflow, and this is the outflow. You can see the outflow very nicely delineated here, which was missing on the cast that we had from the I-33, since we could not image. So this is the use of the TOM technology along with the Philips technology. We're getting what is called the auto RV. So similarly, you can get the auto strain of the RV here, and the auto strain of the LV, and the auto strain of the LV. You can get the auto strain of the LV, and just have to provide these 3 images: 4-chamber, 2-chamber, and long axis, and you don't have to provide any points. And the computer automatically gives you the auto strain, which is fast, it is reproducible, robust, and quicker than any other machine, that you're able to get actually the auto strain of the LV. Now this is the multi-view. Multi-view is actually 3D live technology using the MPR mode, and we get the 3D image also. The 4th image is the 3D image. Excellent 3D image, can be used for quantification as well as interventions. And this is a live procedure, so you can do actually a mitral clip procedure or an ASD closure using the what is called the multi-view, which is present in the I-33. More useful during interventions, but again useful even in the transthoracic mode to actually give a quick assessment of the mitral valve. This becomes very good. And the auto view I've already talked about is 1-button access to the live 3D zoom, as well as the mitral valve, the short axis aorta, and the long axis aortic valve. And this is the quick view I told you earlier, where you can get the automatically within 2 buttons click, you can get the 3D image of the mitral valve. And this is the multi-view again that is shown. You can see the MPR technology here, and you're getting nicely the 3D picture over here of the mitral clip that is being placed in this patient. So this is an interventional image with the mitral clip, and this is the patient who has got mitral regurgitation and the mitral clip is being placed. And this is, again, I've just shown you that this is actually what is called the multi-view. These are the MPR images, and this is the 3D image. And this is the face crop, as I told you. is especially useful when you are using the 3D zoom or you are using the eye cropping. And this is the intervention. Like in this case, in case you would like to close the atrial septal defect or you want to puncture the atrial septum here, so you're puncturing the atrial septum, you're fusing the 2D image technology that you have with the X-ray technology. That is being fused in the same image. So there's a fusion of two images, the echo image with this, and this you get it nowadays with the interventional, the model of the CVX. So the EPIC CVXI interventional is going to provide, so this is going to be a landmark change. This is already a landmark change in those who are doing a lot of interventional work, especially the, as I told you, the device closures of the defects or the repair of the mitral regurgitation or the aortic valve replacement transcutaneous or the closure of the paravalvular leak or closure of the atrial appendage. All these can be done with the fusion of the 3D technology onto the fluoroscopic X-ray image. And this shortens the time, especially shortens the fluoroscopic time and decreases extensively the radiation to the patient as well as to the operator. So my experience on using I-33 is that in difficult patients, the difference is going to be appreciated in patients who are challenging, where the echo window is challenging or doing in challenging conditions, especially in the ICU, where you've got the placement of the catheters and the tubes and the bandages, and you have limited space available. You are not able to turn the patient to the left side, and you get a difficult imaging. It is there in these sort of situations that I find that this machine is good, and I do not remember anything image that I'm saying is non-diagnostic because of the acoustic window. I'm doing a non-diagnostic study. Otherwise, on the earlier technologies, we do actually need to give contrast, especially we are using in the IV. We are using these machines in the ICU. So we need to give a transpulmonary contrast to image the left ventricle and to actually enhance the border visualization of the left ventricle. So now we do not need to use this contrast. That is according to my initial experience. And with these non-diagnostic studies, I have not come across any. You have a large size OLED monitor, which gives very good view, especially using the max view, which gives a larger picture, occupying the entire monitor with a high resolution. Then if you want to using in 2D, you get a biplane LV ejection at the click of 2 buttons only. And you can also get 3D technologies, especially the live 3D technology. You can get the dynamic heart model. Then if you have got the live 3D technology or the RV or auto RV, then the live 3D strains. These actually can be performed on transthoracic and just performed on click of buttons. They're likely to be reproducible and robust, and of course much less time consuming. So the automations that are there, they're quite powerful, and using the anatomical attendants along. So what is the future of the I-33 and the EPIC machines? Both these machines are likely to run parallel and coexist for the next 5 to 6 years. The support provided by the company to I-33 is likely to continue over this period. But the end users also have a choice to access a machine like EPIC or to continue with this existing machine. And I've told you the relative advantages of going on to the newer technology. So my conclusion is a powerful combination of EnSite imaging technology with anatomical intelligence and tissue rendering, especially the touch view and the true view, that provides a transformational change in the image quality and in the efficiency of using this machine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. This is Bhaskar here from Philips. On behalf of Philips team and the entire participant, I would like to thank you, sir, for taking out time in a busy schedule day and sharing your knowledge. It was indeed a wonderful experience for us also. Like you have shared the entire experience journey of a Sonos days to IE33 to Epic series. I'm very sure that you have explained very well in terms of how the anatomical intelligence is going to aid the clinician for their day-to-day practice. If you're okay with, can we have the question answer, sir?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a comment like would request Dr. Kapoor for step-by-step to DP3D live. I think Dr. Vijan sir has asked.
Yeah.
I think it is probably more of a comment, sir.
What is the comment? Hello?
So I think Dr. Vijan is actually requesting for a step-by-step on 3D echo.
Yeah.
And this is actually a request that we've received from a lot of other participants as well. So
I think we're going to have a separate talk on that. No, I cannot sort of talk on this over here. We can have a separate talk on the step-by-step on the 3D approach.
Yes. So Bhaskar, can we just stick to questions with respect to the session? Yeah.
Dr. Shantanu has asked, how happy are you using heart model on an average or below average echo window? There are multiple questions, so I can read out one by one.
So I think I'll just answer this particular question.
Yeah.
So this particular question is on a suboptimal image. You are sometimes going to get erroneous ejection fraction if you use the heart model. So in that case, you have a choice to edit. There is a good editing facility. So those 2D images that are taken out on the MPR, both on the short axis and long axis, can be edited out nicely, and then you can get an accurate heart model. Editing will add to the time taken to some extent, depending upon your expertise in editing, but that. So if you are very short of time, you're getting a suboptimal image, then I would advise you not to use the heart model and to go for a conventional 2D EF, either by eyeballing or using the Simpsons, or taking the help of a contrast. But if you have a little more time and you want to give it in 3D, then I would advise you to learn the editing part of this. And if this can be edited, in most of the patients, at least 90% of the patients, we are able to give you adequate, accurate LV volumes. Next question, please.
Yeah, Dr. Shantanu is also asking, sir, like, can you share your experience on a spectral tracking in Epic 7C specifically?
Well, Epic 7C gives you a good spectral tracking on Epic 7C, though it is not fully automated. It is semi-automated, and you get good quality images of what is called the CMQ. What is called the CMQ. So you get the strain in the longitudinal strain, and you can also get in the short axis, you can get the circumferential strain, though the radial strain is not available, but you can get the circumferential strain and you can also use this strain. So whenever you get a patient who's having ejection fraction which is normal and you're getting a reduced longitudinal strain, go for the short axis and try to see that the circumferential strain is either well preserved or more than normal. So that is compensating for the reduced longitudinal strain and trying to maintain the ejection fraction. So both the strains have to be used, and both are very nicely seen actually on this technology of the 7C. Though you don't have the auto strain, but you have an excellent technology. I think it can be upgraded with a little extra cost to the auto strain also.
Yes, sir. The next question is, most of the times we correct for endocardial tracking during STE. Is auto strain from this software validated in studies? Would you personally believe in the numbers without manual adjustment?
Well, it depends again on the quality of the imaging. If you find that this planimetry is good, and that this auto planimetry has been done well, and the numbers are there, which you think you can believe that these numbers are credible. In case you have a doubt, and of course you can go for the editing mode. This can always be edited, and you can see whether the numbers change on editing if you have some issues for editing. So it just depends on the quality of the tracing that you get. If the quality of the planimetry is good, then you can believe these numbers are likely to be credible. If there's some doubt that as the image is moving, then this tracing is not keeping it's not going along with the anatomy. In that case, you can actually edit, or you can go for a better imaging again and then do it.
Yes, sir. There's a next question. What's new in dynamic heart model versus heart model in EPIC 7C? I mean, probably he's trying to ask what is the difference between static heart model to dynamic
Well,
heart model.
actually, the moving technologies give you much better. That is always better appreciated by the eye. And the other thing is that you get the volumes on the volume time graph, and the volumes and you got a greater editing facility on the short axis also. Otherwise, in the EPIC 7C, you have got editing mainly on the long axis. Here, if you want to edit, you can edit even on the short axis and make it accurate. And along with that, more importantly, you get the LA volumes automated, which is also there, which is of course also there on 7C, but this can also be, you get the volume time graphs even on this.
Yes, sir. Dr. Shantanu is asking, is there any technology on the way to do speckle tracking with UEA? I don't know what exactly UEA is.
Pardon?
He's asking, is there any technology on the way to do speckle tracking with UEA?
What does he mean by UEA? Can he ask me? And you ask him to explain?
Yes, we'll speak to him. Meanwhile, we'll take the other question on this.
Yeah.
Any optimization of contrast echo interface in EPIC CV? Can you share?
The optimization of the contrast interface. Interface with what? I mean, you're talking about the use during the contrast imaging?
Probably, sir.
Are you talking about the contrast imaging?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's ultrasound enhancing agent or contrast. UEA.
Yeah. So when you use contrast imaging, you can always use that. This interface can be edited, and you can make the whole image better. Yeah.
Dr. Vijan sir is asking, will high definition blood flow imaging replace sonicated contrast if introduced?
Well, that's the thing for the future. At the moment, we have to use contrast. There is a technology using the Vortex technology, first which was using the contrast, and now it's not available on this particular machine or in this particular company. But that technology is on the anvil, where it is now being used without contrast also, and you can actually see the flow. And whoever is talking, he can share. I can share with him some of the images that are there using what is called the vortex imaging or the particle imaging that we have. So we can actually use that. Previously used to be used with contrast, and now is being used without contrast. So I don't know whether he's talking about that technology.
Yeah, so the Dr. Shantanu has cleared his this thing. Like he's asking, is there any technology on the way to do speckle tracking along with the contrast enhanced ultrasound?
Okay. Well, at the moment, the speckle tracking does not go hand in hand with contrast. If you try to do speckle tracking with contrast, all the graphs are haywire. So at the moment, it's not agreeable. So obviously, some technological changes might be taking so that it gets compatible with the contrast. Because once you do the contrast, then the whole appreciations goes completely haywire. So at the moment, the contrast is not compatible with the speckle imaging. But if you want to combine the two, then you have to shift to a new technology, and possibly a lot of research must be going on in this field. And I think Shantanu must be having a better idea on this.
Thank you so much, sir.